You're listening to RTL SA.
Tuesday Talks. It's not normal that I would say good afternoon, but I'm going to have to say good afternoon to Dave as soon as I can just get him on screen right now. And he's out and about in beautiful sunshine. Good afternoon, Dave. Right, Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can
Okay,
hear you.
you back now. We can hear you. Hello, Dave. Good
Oh,
afternoon.
okay. Good afternoon.
That's weird. It's weird to say good afternoon. We normally say good morning.
It is. It's a bit weird. Well, new things, new beginnings. You never know.
No. Next week we'll be back at 11 a.m. What is going on in the background there? It looks absolutely awesome. Beautiful
Well, I'm in
sunshine.
Museburg and I'm in a Zen garden.
Oh, nice.
Um, um, yeah, so I went, got myself a book from Kalk Bay and I walked back all the way here and I was just taking a walk in this beautiful flame before I take on the show.
Nice. Beautiful. Dave, yesterday was Nelson Mandela Day, and I ran a piece paying tribute to the man and just telling a little bit of story of his life and things like that. But I must say, I've kind of feel like there wasn't as much hype and vibe around Mandela Day this year. I mean, locally, I know the UN did something, and the Duke Harry was the speaker, but I just kind of felt like this year Mandela Day wasn't celebrated like it normally is. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it was a bit low key, but I think it just goes to the state of mind of the majority of the population that everybody's a bit delusioned at the moment. That's what is going on. And although Mandela represents freedom and good virtues, people are very tired of the ANC, and I think that's reflected in the mood of the people, and I believe that's why it was a low key event yesterday.
The man himself has been gone since 2013. It was it 2013? No, 2017. I think
But
2017. Since
no, 2013, I think.
was it 2013?
I think.
But
I think.
but I'll tell you
I'm
now.
not sure.
I did talk about it
I'm
yesterday,
not sure.
but he's still so revered and celebrated across the globe by so many people, and he touched so many lives and left an absolute incredible legacy behind. What are some of your fondest memories and moments from Nelson Mandela?
I think that speech of his at St. George's Square when he was released, and after being 27 years in prison, to go on a public forum and say, let's forgive everybody. Let's not forget, but let's forgive everybody. Let's move on. Let's build a country together. Let's forgive the injustice of the past. That was such a powerful, powerful statement. I'll never forget that speech. And, that just showed the stature of the man. That um, that one came out in those circumstances, and while he was imprisoned, he wasn't in the beginning treated very well. He actually was treated badly, and to come out and turn around and say, "Let's just forgive and let's just move on, not forget, but forgive." It's very, very powerful, powerful stuff. And I think this is why he's so revered. He could have easily come out and say, "No, let's seek vengeance," and it would have destroyed our country. But no, he chose a path of reconciliation and building of the nation. A path that Jacob Schumann and RET faction have destroyed completely.
I was just about to say, it's sad that not enough influential people have followed in his footsteps and tried to maintain that legacy that he left behind, so to say.
Chris Hani turned around and said once, and I think that's why he was murdered. I think Chris Hani was murdered by his own people. Where he turned around and he says, when you see um, the ANC members driving flashy cars and having fancy cars, flashy cars and fancy houses, when you see that happen, uh, then you know that there's something very wrong going on. And he was assassinated. I believe he was assassinated by his own people
Yeah.
because he was so outspoken about the accumulation of wealth at the expense of his own people, and that's why he was assassinated.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because part of this thing I ran yesterday was Nelson Mandela when he was running for to become president against when the ANC were going up against the National Party at the time. And in one of his speeches, he actually turned around and accused the National Party of the same thing, saying that they're all driving around in flashy cars and spending money and wasting resources in South Africa when we should be giving it back to the people. And then he still said in that speech, and this one of the most magic moments, he said when he becomes president, if and when he becomes president, he wants a salary cut. The president's salary must be cut.
Yeah, well, those were the days. It's completely changed now, obviously. Yeah.
He was an incredible human being, an incredible man, and his compassion and the way that he handled himself after coming out of prison was just absolutely inspirational across the globe, not just within our borders.
Yeah, I remember the time where the IFP and the ANC were fighting each other, and we were on the brink of civil war. He came on SABC. That was even before the elections in '94. He came on SABC, and he stopped civil war in our country. That was the power of the man. And compared to Zuma cronies causing the July riots in KZN last year. I mean that it's chalk and cheese, right? No,
100%.
I mean the one stopped the revolution, or sorry, not the revolution, stopped the civil war, and then you have an arsehole causing shit in KZN and 50 billion rands worth of destruction, 343 people dead, and so many people unemployed. I mean it's chalk and cheese.
Absolutely. Dave, I don't know if you caught my main story, but in the main story today, I spoke about the possibility of Telkom and MTN, or MTN buying out Telkom, or the controlling share of Telkom. And the analyst on the show was talking about how he thinks it's a bad idea because, and he almost went as far to say that we as South Africans are entitled to having a communication network that belongs to us rather than a commercial entity. And I got quite upset because I didn't hear the piece this morning. I only listened to it live. And, I just feel that mentality is exactly why we are where we are in this country at the moment. That sense of entitlement that a lot of South Africans have.
Well, Telkom is actually listed on the JSE. It's a public traded company.
Yeah.
It's not private. And the state. I think the state owns about 34%.
44%. 44.
How much?
44%,
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
So it's a publicly traded company, and in fact, when it did get semi-privatized, the services actually improved, and now you have a situation as a listed entity. You've got proper corporate governance, and your financials have to be submitted at a proper date. So as a state-owned enterprise that's listed on a JSE, the compliance aspect is much better. So when somebody says that it should be owned entitled, and this mentality of entitlement is causing a big problem in our country. And in fact, there's a lot of narratives around this issue that the entitlement aspect is a root of a lot of the problems that we have in our country, and it should be eradicated in our conversations. You're entitled to nothing. No one's entitled to anything. This world owes nothing to anyone. Okay, it's everybody makes ground. Yes, the government facilitates processes, but no one's entitled to anything for free. It just
Do
doesn't.
you,
It just doesn't work.
do you think that should this deal go through, should MTN acquire Telkom, that will be a good thing for Telkom?
Well, to be honest, I haven't analyzed it, but MTN is a well-run company. It's global. It's producing good profits. It's paying its taxes. There was a write-up about something that they were paying administration fees to a Mauritian company, and and there was speculation that they're taking money out of the country. But remember that the majority of the money that they generate is offshore. And I'm sure they're expatriating some of that income back. But if they're generating money offshore, then they're entitled to leave some of it offshore. It's just a mentality. I think it's the mentality that all capitalistic natured companies are evil. It's like the generalizing that the free enterprise is actually evil. Yes, yes, a lot of it is part of it, but yeah, Telkom is means this is a state-owned enterprise that's listed on the JSE. It pays taxes, pays VAT, and pays dividends to the state. Compared to all the other state-owned enterprises that are total mess and it's owned by the state, then surely, any logical thinking fucking person with a half a brain would think that that's a better route.
Yeah.
To take all state-owned enterprises, all of them, and put and semi-privatize it, put it on the stock market, so that man in the street can buy shares. In fact, a big stakeholder of MTN is the public workers pension fund. So it's owned by the people. It's owned by the people. Same with Telkom. PIC, it's one of the biggest investors on the JSE. So privatize it, put it onto the JSE, and let the people own shares in it. And that's true empowerment, as opposed to having a situation where all our state-owned enterprises is sucking money from the exchequer. It's just bizarre, the thinking.
Yeah, but it's also the mentality, sort of. I'm going to use it loosely, but capitalism versus communism, and somewhere in between socialism. And I kind of feel like South Africa at the moment is more leaning towards socialism than it is to capitalism, which wasn't always the case a few years ago. I think it's a great idea to have all our state-owned enterprises privatized, to be honest. That's just my personal opinion. Because
Semi-privatized.
Yeah.
Semi-privatized. It
Well,
doesn't
I
have
think
to be, it's a mixture, what I call is socialist capitalism.
Yeah.
Socialist capitalism. So you embrace both principles, because pure capitalism, where the principle of making profits at all costs, is also not right. And communism has failed. Someone should tell some of these ANC cronies that
Dave, are you there?
ANC is actually there. Yeah. So communists have actually fallen. But these ideologies, you can't run a country on ideology. You have to run a country with common sense, common principles, things that work. If Telkom works, copy it. Copy it. Replicate the situation. Don't diss it. It works.
I think the key, what you said there, was run the country. That's what needs to be done. The country needs to be run. It's like a business almost. You got to run the country. And I certainly think that
Yeah.
privatization, at least semi-privatization of state-owned enterprises, is a step in the right direction. Yeah, but now people are this analyst was talking about how Cyril Ramaphosa used to be on the board of MTN, and our former finance minister is on the board of Telkom, and he thinks what he was saying was that these guys are all making money now because of it, and that's why he thought it was a bad idea. But I really wasn't impressed with him at all. He just sounded like South Africa should be entitled to free services and stuff like that. But anyway, we'll leave that over there. Speaking of running the country, what is this not nonsense? What is this story developing around a second power generation company?
Well, how bizarre is this suggestion? Okay, so the NC totally and completely messed up Eskom, and they want to do a second round. I think there's much more to it. I think let's just be positive. Let's maybe think of the area of maybe they want a second generation company, so that from the grassroots they can prevent the looting and the corruptions taking place. So maybe by starting afresh, a new company, they can install those principles from the very beginning and prevent what happened in Eskom. So that's my positive spin on that kind of situation.
I'm 100% with you on that, and it kind of sort of sounds like they want a do-over. But the thing that is gets to me is they don't have the money to fix Eskom, but they want to find the money to create a second generation company. That's like
I suspect that it will be financed from private investors. And it's not coincidentally that Patrice Motsepe has set up an energy arm in his organization, and I believe that he will pour billions into this, and his company will probably be a stakeholder. So I think it won't be financed by the state; it will be financed by corporates and rich individuals, and they'll put I believe they'll probably put proper corporate governance from the outset, and say while they're fixing Eskom, at least have a power generator that from the outset it's a proper place. That is my positive spin towards.
Dave, you are being very positive today.
I hope they learn from the mess.
We can only hope that this is the case, and that we're not just going to throw money away and waste a bit of time. Do you know of any sort of time frame that they're talking about this?
No, but I think that I read reports over the Sunday that Ramaphosa is moving very quickly to eliminate our energy crisis. And he called in the ministers and basically told them, listen, scrap all the red tape. Red tape is hindering our economic growth. Scrap it. And I think he's taking a hand and making things happen. Excuse me. Yeah, I think so. I think it's quite quick. This is going to happen quickly, all of this.
So in the next few years, we could have a second generation power generation company.
I think they already also granted license to new IPPs on solar and wind energy, and I think they're moving fast. So they're ignoring the noise from the unions and all the noise with the unions saying no, you shouldn't have IPPs, and that the unions must just go somewhere. I don't know. I'm not, as you know, I'm not pro-union at all, because I call them the economic terrorists of our country. So he's not listening to them. He's just implementing so that our economy can actually function properly by having enough power to start and help businesses, because it's impacting business negatively. So the unions must just shut up now, as Shelley said to that activist. Shut up.
True story. Yeah, I tell you, I agree with you 100%. Should uh, everybody just needs to now shut up and get working, get it over and done with,
Yeah,
solve the
yeah.
problems, not talk about them
So
anymore. Do something about
exactly,
them.
and it's not ideology. It's not. It's nothing to do with that. It's about getting things done now. Okay, properly, methodically, with proper corporate governance and proper planning. Let's just get on with it now.
No, I totally agree. It's time. We can't continue like this. In light of everything that's going on around the world, we don't need this stress in our lives as well. Dave, speaking about
Exactly.
the rest of the world, what's happening in Ukraine? Ukraine seem to be Ukraine seems to be
Yeah,
really ramping up efforts to take Russia head to head.
but it's so typical of media. It's remember it was all front page news and first thing on TV channels, and now it's just relegated. Now people are starting to forget about it. The fifth month, I think the Russians are consolidating now in the east, and the sanctions have clearly not worked, and now Russia is saying, okay, well we'll stop gas supply. And everybody's now is up in arms in Europe because now they're going to have an energy crisis. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where now Putin is met with Iran, and a senior Iran advisor said they're reaching capabilities of being able to make a nuclear bomb, and Israel says no, we're not going to let you. We're going to bombard you. I'm, s- it's just unfolding like a horror story. So Ukraine, you see, because of the inaction of NATO, I think Russia's becoming bolder, and China's watching on the sideline, and it's salivating at the moment because it's looking at Taiwan and thinking, shit, maybe we can do the same with what Russia did to Ukraine, and no one's going to do anything about it. And it's just that just and Russia's becoming bolder and bolder. And this meeting with Iran is very scary, very very scary. It's starting to drizzle.
Oh
No,
dear!
get down there.
But there was only blue
It's
skies
starting to
behind you five
drizzle.
minutes ago.
All right, five
There was
minutes to go.
and 5 minutes ago it was all blue.
No, this is Cape Town. Five, 4 seasons in one day. Just like
You're listening to RTL SA.